This podcast is sponsored in part by Benjamin Hart.
That's me!
And yours truly, Zach Arnold.
And by participation from listeners like you. So let's tune in to another episode of
IPC.
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 IPC. IPC.
IPC.
IPC.
IPC. The Intergalactic Peace Coalition Podcast.
All the galaxies.
All for you.
Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Intergalactic Peace Coalition Podcast, broadcasting live right here on Fandom Empire via YouTube and actually even via Facebook too, which is great. Hello to everyone over there. Glad you could be with us to we got a lot to talk about tonight, guys. A lot. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening, especially in the Star Wars world, but we're also going to get to some other stuff. We get to some Marvel stuff, maybe a little bit more after that, but it's been a really it's been a crazy week, especially for Star Wars fans, and it's going to be even a crazier week next week. Disney Plus Day is right around the corner. We will not be live for that, but I will give you some details later on in the show about where you can see me, where I will be this time next week, and where a bunch of people are going to be, and it's going to be crazy. Everyone's going to have their reaction shows or whatever. We're doing the same thing.
Make your best mugshots, folks.
But before we get into that, of course, it's going to be great, but we got to discuss what's happening this week. And of course, my name is Ben. I'm here most of the time. And Zach Arnold, of course, my other co-host, he's not here right now. I'm hearing rumors that he will be back very soon, hopefully. So keep your fingers crossed that he's doing well, and he will
check
be back
your sources, Ben. Check your sources.
You can't spread rumors. Spread your rumors things, but hopefully we'll have him back very soon. But the other person you see with me here is someone who is jumped on at the very last minute. I should say, I literally messaged you today and said, "Hey, can you do this?" And you're like, "Yes!" And I'm like, "I love your enthusiasm." So it is my good friend. You've seen him on other podcasts, other shows. It's Mr. Joel Davis. Joel, welcome to the show.
Hello, and I'm sure this is actually the first time you've heard my voice and maybe seen my mug. Although, if you go on Facebook, you see my mug because I have a picture of myself.
Yeah. But this is I think you've listened to IPC for quite a while, and this is your first time actually on the show.
I know,
which we're
exciting.
So happy to have. I'm always looking for new and interesting guest people, especially people that haven't been on the show yet. So very much excited to have you here with us, and on such a joyous occasion because
I know,
as I said, there's so much going on. There's so much happening.
So much rumors. It's like it's Schrodinger's Star Wars. Is it happening? Is it not happening? I don't know. I guess so.
Yeah. It's crazy. It is really crazy. Okay, well, let's just get into it. Okay, so we need to address something. There's the big elephant in the room, the big green and red elephant in the room that you can see in the background here is Mr. Boba Fett, Boba Fett as they call him, and he got a new trailer this week.
Used to be called Jasper Mariel in old Legends canon.
You're right. So we got a new trailer for the book of Boba Fett. Finally, we were like, oh, well, we'll get one on Disney Plus Day, no problem. And then Monday morning, they just dropped this on us. So now we have this, and it was quite entertaining. But I want to get your thoughts on this, Joel. What were your first impressions of the book of Boba Fett trailer?
I was just excited to see footage. Honestly, like, oh, this is actually happening. It's one of those things that's sort of like, oh yeah, this is real. This is tangible. This is gonna happen. And that's something that's always weird with a lot of the new Star Wars. And I've been having that with since Force Awakens, and it never stops happening. It's like, oh my gosh, new Star Wars. Like I remember when Force Awakens trailer came out, like, oh my god, this is real. This is happening. It's like, oh my gosh, a Boba Fett trailer. This is real. This is happening. And it was awesome, but just like so cool. And it's the tone, like that sort of. It's a bit darker than Mandalorian. It feels different. Like it still feels like it's a spin-off to Mandalorian, but like there's a just like a twinge in the light. There's like a little bit of moodiness to it. Obviously Boba Fett's going full on Godfather, so that's awesome.
Right.
And it confirmed a lot of things. It didn't show us, but it didn't tell us a lot as well. Like a lot of just visually and tonally stunning, but not like plot heavy, which I appreciate. Although I wouldn't mind it just know a little bit more of the plot, like what's the story about. But we got a month to go, a little more. So
yeah, it was very light on plot and light on a lot. There wasn't any like big reveal. There wasn't anything that I've heard about in the rumors and stuff like that that's going to be in the show. There was no like character showing up at the end. It was just like showing you kind of what the show's going to be, which is really cool. I think being that we're so close, I'm kind of like, okay, I just want to get there.
me too.
I don't really want to get like all the big reveals and stuff like that in the trailer. Let's just watch the show. Like, show me this trailer, show me the look and feel. The fact that it is, like you said, it's kind of like Mandalorian, but it's considerably darker. It's a little different tone, different characters, different locale, but still that production quality. And I think the production quality is even better in the Book of Boba Fett. You have that giant cityscape in there, and there's just so many others. These shows.
Just watch it. In a few years, this is gonna look like the movies. I mean, it already kind of does look like the movies, which I think Star Wars works well because the original was so made. It wasn't on the cheap, but compared to blockbuster today, it's like pennies. So it's like I think like almost. I don't want to say cheap Star Wars is better looking Star Wars, but it's like you don't need a lot to like make bad quality production Star Wars. Like we got Star Wars fans films that could look like A New Hope today because of just how good technology is. Like this phone is is something that George would have loved to use as a camera back in his day. He probably would have invented it himself, or his teams were. Like this is the kind of stuff they were aiming for. So I think that's why the production qualities look so better, and it's going to get better and better because now they're using the volume more. They're like working out the kinks.
Well, yeah, and it is funny. Like I said the same thing about Mandalorian going back. Like I think if you took any of the trailers from Mandalorian or even now Book of Boba Fett, you showed them to somebody, say 10 years ago, and said, "What is this?" They'd be like, "Oh, that's a new Star Wars movie. That's a Boba Fett Star Wars movie." Like, that's what that is.
I mean, compared to something like Agents of Shield. I'm sorry, Agents of Shield fans out there. I like Agents of Shield for what it was, but
you're not wrong.
You look at Agents of Shield and sort of like. So when the Marvel movies were coming out, like here's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the week. It's like, oh, this is a TV budget, TV sci-fi budget, decent CGI, very short stages.
Right. Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a show that like it's a TV show. It was a network show, and it had a very limited budget, and it looked like a TV show. It got better as it progressed, but like I think these shows. Whether you're talking about the Marvel stuff, Star Wars, or whatever, they don't look like TV shows. They look, and they need to because it would seem like a step down. You wouldn't buy into WandaVision or
you would feel like
Loki
it's the same universe
with it feeling like a TV show when it's dealing with the same characters in some of the same circumstances and settings. And the same thing with Star Wars. We've seen Tatooine before. We've seen Jabba's palace. We've seen Boba Fett before.
Can I just say Tatooine? It looks better not to hate on Mandalorian season 1, but I love Mandalorian season 1. What am I saying? But that Tatooine episode in season 1, that felt like the cheapest episode. Like Tatooine was empty. We only saw the bar, and then you get to the Marshall, and it's like, oh, this looks like a movie, and now it's like Tatooine's like really expanding as like a planet with its own. What's the word? Anthropomorphic kind of feel to it. Like it feels like a living society, not just desert world. Plop, here you go.
Yeah, there is some episodes of Mandalorian that kind of feel like there's some of them that kind of feel like they're on a set. The ice spider episode is very like it's kind of like a bottle episode, not dealing with a whole lot of stuff. But I think. This show is like, I think, again, Mandalorian is still dealing with a limited budget, even though it has all these special effects and whatever else. They can't do anything they want. They can't have these massive crowd scenes or whatever, whereas this show seems to really be leaning into that. And they're like, hey, let's throw more money at this thing because...
I mean, that's Robert Rodriguez for you. I mean, I know about him. He's the director who, like, very minimalistic. So that's kind of in his ballpark in the first place. Apparently, like he does everything himself in some cases. I don't know if he does it all for like I didn't into like for the Spy Kids film, but like I know that he's like one of those very minimalistic guys who like did everything himself, or at least claims to. Even his episode of The Mandalorian has his style because like it's on location.
Yeah,
I think it's somewhere in California. It looks like California.
yeah, I think it is.
And it's sort of like he kind of improvised the action scenes himself because the script was like 15 pages. But like I think his style and his tone will really help, especially because he did movies like I've never seen a lot of his movies outside of Spy Kids. So
same.
I feel like I'm not. Did he do Sin City or was it? Am I thinking?
I think so. I'm pretty sure that's Robert.
I know he did a movie called I don't think Mariachi or Medici. Not Medici. Mariachi. Like, and those are his like darker films, and I think in a weird way, I think Book of Boba might be the perfect marriage for him because like this is the guy who gets Shark Boy, Lava Girl, and Spy Kids. It's like in the kids angle, and then Sin City, which is like pure adult. And so this Book of Boba Fett thing is like the perfect marriage of like dark, gritty, probably more violent, but also it's still Boba Fett, it's still Star Wars, so you gotta have a somewhat of a kids, not kids friendly, but like family tone.
Yeah, it's a little, Star Wars is goofy. It's kind of funny sometimes. It's, it's a lighter tone, even when it's darker. It's not necessarily like dark and gritty, even though some people think it's all the time dark and gritty when it's not. So like,
it's mature,
I think,
but not dark and gritty.
Yeah, exactly. Like Anakin implying that he's slaughtering younglings is, it's very dark. It's
the
very
darkest
mature.
Star Wars has gotten is watching Anakin burn alive.
Right. Yeah, that's dark.
That's dark and gritty.
That's dark and gritty. But that's about as far as they go, which is pretty far. But I think there's some people like, oh, we want all of Star Wars to be like that. I'm like, nah, it doesn't really look like that. You gotta take your Jar Jars with your Anakin burning alive. It's just how it works. Okay, so going back to the trailer. What moment or one screenshot from the trailer got you the most excited for like going into this, and of course not knowing a lot about it?
I think for me, I'm gonna pick the weird one. Boba Fett sitting at the dinner table with the guys, with the captains, because that is very Godfather. Like, yeah, it's like that's straight out from the Godfather. Like, I'm just expecting Don Corleone to come out. Like, I'm going to make you an. I can't do Tim's voice. I can't do a Tim. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Or that, and the final scene where it's like Boba Fett's like, speak freely. Like, yeah, Boba Fett's being a boss. Like, it's sort of funny how Boba Fett and Darth Maul are the two characters that got resurrected and now are being crime lords. Although I think, although for some reason I feel like Boba Fett's got a lot more going for him. Just in terms of his own competence, I feel like, but I might be wrong. Maybe, I don't know. He's got more of an advantage because Palpatine's, well, he's not in power right now.
He's not around right now. He's taking a break.
He's taking a breeze. He's taking a nice breather, getting all that clone juice.
He took a vacation to go get cloned.
Exactly. But I think that is like, oh, this is going to be interesting because I like the idea of underworld politics. Especially in Star Wars. Politics in Star Wars, how dare they? But I love the idea of like this underworld power grab, and Boba's like going to do it. Like, I love that line where it's like Boba's like, Jabba ruled through fear. I will rule with respect. I love that line. I guess my only thing right now, and this is kind of, I know some people it's kind of going to be their make and break for the series, is why? Like, okay, Boba, why did you decide to come out of the Starlight Pit now and become a crime lord? Like, did you decide, you know what, I'm just going to become a crime lord while I'm in the Starlight Pit? Like, is something you thought about? Like, why is he doing this?
It is odd how the timing works, and it's been 5 years. Where has Boba Fett been all this time?
And I can't imagine he's been in the Starlight Pit for 5 years. Like, I would assume he kind of got out at least like a couple months, if not like a couple weeks.
Yeah, I've always assumed like it was like almost immediately he got out, or maybe spent a few days down there.
Depends on the Legends comic at the time.
So, and that's another thing I'm looking forward to is like the flashbacks and getting more information about, like, because I mean, if you think about it, it's like Boba Fett just shows up there's no explanation in Mandalorian as to like why he's there, even though we saw him die. We saw him fall in the Sarlacc pit. He's not supposed to be around, but now he is.
It's funny. That's exactly how it happened in Dark Empire. Just like he shows up and it's like Sarlacc pit didn't like me. Now I'm back to being Boba. Now I'm doing bounty hunter things again. Dark Empire brought back a lot of Return of the Jedi deaths, so
there's more Dark Empire in new canon than people want to admit.
Oh yeah, that's actually a big one.
Yeah, but I like what you're saying there with like Boba Fett and being kind of the sitting around and doing like that. And it's something that brought up to me. I saw a video. I think it was today. I saw a video pop up in my feed. It was Jeremy Bulloch, the late great Jeremy Bulloch, talking about how he played the character originally like Clint Eastwood. He said he didn't walk in the room going, "I'm Boba Fett." Right. He's like, okay, this is the guy who just stands in the background, doesn't say very much. He's intimidating enough. You know who he is. And he has this air about him. I like that. And I think as good as it was to have Tim Morrison come back and play the character and freaking kill a bunch of stormtroopers brutally and all this kind of stuff, I think bringing that side of the character back too and just have him just sit there and just be like, if I got up out of this chair, I'd kill you. All right. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going to. All right. I'm just going to sit there and look menacing and I'm going to scare you into doing what I want you to do. Like that's Boba Fett. That's knowing when to like kick ass, but also not, and being so intimidating and the armor and all the gadgets and stuff like that.
It's funny how now they are almost embracing the idea of Boba Fett, the badass. I'm going to say it. Badass. Right. I know, because it's funny because like I was reading an article today, like, in the movies, not only do they not do much, he gets owned in Return of the Jedi. It's like, come on, he just kind of like gets hit and then falls down. It's like, oh, there's the end of Boba Fett. And so like he sort of gotten this air about him. And it's like it's interesting that in old book series called The Tale of the Jabba's Palace, which were a Legends book written before the prequels, like kind of after Return of the Jedi in that era. I don't know if it was the 90s or it was like the late 80s. They actually do make Boba Fett out to be like this honorable bounty hunter. Like he hates Han Solo because Han Solo sells spice, and spice is kind of essentially the drugs. It's like, the 80s, it's like say no to drugs, kids, and Han Solo is the spice runner, so he does drugs, and that makes you crazy. And like he likes the Empire because Boba back then has this like law and order kind of he does think the rebels are terrorists, and he kind of like has very he doesn't like slavery, doesn't like certain things. So it's sort of, they're not going exactly that sort of hardcore honorable system with Boba in canon because of just his history. But I do think it's interesting how they do kind of are keeping with the idea of Boba Fett's this guy with a code. And I'm kind of curious to see how that will play in just to kind of what we know about Boba in canon compared to Legends. Like, how does he go from the kid who's the clone of Jango, but also his son, to kind of the lost teenager from Clone Wars who was in jail? They throw kids in jail in the Republic, I guess. And then all the stuff we see in him in the comics and some of the books in Empire, where he kind of is just the bounty hunter who kills and tortures people. And then today, like, I'm kind of curious how that kind of all culminates in like the psychology of Boba Fett, and I really hope they get into that.
Well, yeah, and it is interesting how they've kind of reimagined or like refocused like who Boba Fett is and like his sense of honor and whatever, but also I think letting him grow and evolve and stuff like that, where you see him in this trailer going like, I'm not a bounty hunter. And you're like,
and that's what I love about this series, like this idea. It's like, because that was, my problem with the Legends. I'm going to do a lot of Legends comparison because that's just what I kind of know. Where it's like, he kind of just stayed a bounty hunter afterwards. I mean, he did a little bit more stuff with like the Mandalorians, and I think he trained Jaina Solo in the way to the Mandalorians to be like a Mandalorian Jedi kind of a thing later on. But it's like, right now, like, but he stayed a bounty hunter. But now it's like, okay, now he's going to be the new Jabba and maybe the new Talon Card. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'll get to that maybe later.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool. It's like, that's just awesome. But I still kind of want to know, why do you want to be the new Jabba all of a sudden? Like, Boba does not, at least not in anything I've read or seen in the new canon so far with the comics and stuff, has seemed to be like a guy who's has any inclinations of wanting like the top job or to sit on a throne. He just sort of seems like, nah, I do my job, I get paid. maybe I want to increase my reputation as the best bounty hunter to be like my dad. But outside of that, it's not. He doesn't seem like he's plotting coups against Java or anything.
Well, yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see like if it's what we're being presented with here of like Boa giving up the bounty hunter gig to become this crime lord. If this is what is to be expected, or does he have ulterior motives?
I mean, I was just gonna say like maybe that's what the time period, because obviously he's known about Cobb Vanth from presumably years, depending on how long Cobb's had that armor.
Yeah,
I think he's had it since Return of the Jedi immediately. If my knowledge of Aftermath is correct, so
right.
maybe, and we see that scene with the Tusken Raiders. I'm going to predict that the flashback, the Tusken Raiders help him out, and I'm going to predict that maybe Boa spent some time with the Tusken Raiders, and maybe over the years he kind of just for the few years he with exploring Tatooine, maybe really getting to learn about the planet, because I don't think he cared about the planet outside of before Return of the Jedi. I think it's like, oh, Tatooine, I know about it because Jabba's there. That's where I go. That's where I go to party with Jabba sometimes. But now I get to learn about the planet, learn about the people, learn about probably all the criminal gangs that are popping up because Jabba's dead. And when you kill off the top dog, all the little underlings, they try to form their own little warlordships. So maybe Boba's like, okay. Maybe he kind of comes to this weird conclusion where it's like, okay, I can't eliminate crime because that's impossible. But if I controlled it, I can regulate it. I can, curve off the bad edges, but I have to keep what's obviously there because you can't destroy crime. It's impossible. You can only curtail it so much.
Right. It could very well be like a kind of a logical thing about, well, this stuff's going to happen anyway, so I'm just going to control it. I'm just going to make sure it happens correctly, and I'm going to kind of move them in the right direction of being less about, all this really bad stuff and being like maybe less bad stuff about stealing from the rich and giving to the poor and doing some Robin Hood stuff or whatever. Or another possibility that I just thought of is what if like he's doing this to like collect all the criminal organizations kind of under one roof and go, all right, now I'm gonna kill y'all. I'm gonna wipe all you out. Like, go full Punisher on him. Like he could do that.
I mean, if Boba Fett could be the Punisher of this Mandoverse, if you want to make Marvel comparisons, like he'd be the one to do it. Like because Boba's not. I don't see Boba as going to be the hero of this story.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
At least not. I mean, he's the protagonist. He is going to be the person we follow because we all are the hero of our own story, as they say. But
he is. Yeah, he's the protagonist. He doesn't have to necessarily be the hero. He doesn't have to necessarily be a hero.
He's not like Dan, where it's like the White Knight kind of thing. He can be either tragic and fail, or just kind of this character who's going to be like, I do shady stuff, but I'm better than say, I'm on the D&D scale, I'm chaotic neutral compared to Gideon or, possibly Thrawn, who might be out there. So it's like, you rather have me than Thrawn or Gideon on your side. Because, it's like we do see him rescue Grogu, and I do think that's going to, that was kind of our first indication of like, oh, Boba, you're being a good guy because you're helping cute baby Yoda. So you win our hearts for that. And also because I think there's a lot of, his own personal relationships with his family. But now we're going to see him outside of that. And it's sort of like, okay, well, Boba's now doing the shady things again. So where do you stand? It's like, where does even Fennec stand on that, too? Like, is Fennec his conscience in a weird way? Like, kind of without Fennec, he might go crazy or something. Or who knows,
Yeah, I think Fennec could be a wild card because you never know like how on board she is with what he's doing or if she knows what he's doing. I like that there's that one shot in the trailer when he kind of goes up and he pulls his helmet off and he's kind of standing there. She kind of walks up beside him and she's like, dude, are you like, he's like looking at him like he's crazy almost, or like, oh God, what's he doing now? Like kind of exasperated. I like the idea of Fennec kind of going along with this and supporting him, publicly, but also having some reservations. And maybe if he were to like change his tune and go like, yeah, I'm gonna go straight, I'm gonna become a hero, or I'm gonna wipe out all these crime lords, she'd be like, I'm not on board with that. I don't think that's cool, guy. And she does her own thing. I think some tension between those two would be really interesting.
I mean, I'd love to see scenes of them just kind of discussing, hey, we're in this palace, we're trying to build this criminal empire back up again. What are we going to do? I guess if Boba's the new Talon Card, then she's the new Mara Jade in that regard, because the Talon Card also had a female second in command.
I didn't even think about that. Wow. Okay.
Obviously, when maybe we'll find out Fennec Shan's secretly in Emperor's hand the whole time.
So much.
I think it was Hannah from Culture Slate podcast who suggested this. I think on the Underworld chat that maybe twist. Fennec is the Crimson Dawn double agent or something.
Wow, yeah, I like that a lot,
because that's sort of my wild prediction of who's going to show up. Is if I had to predict someone out of the blue with I'm rooting for Crimson Dawn to show up. I don't know if this is a 1-season show, and if this isn't a 1-season show, then my prediction would be season 2 Crimson Dawn shows up, because I'm in the camp that think they're going to show up in this post-Andor series eventually. I'm kind of hoping.
Yeah, I feel like they have a lot planned for Boba Fett. If they've gone to the trouble of bringing him back when they didn't have to, and I think we talked about it on Underworld. That I think even Dominic pointed out that it didn't make any sense at the time to bring Boba Fett back when you have the Mandalorian, who is essentially just,
Mandalorian's the Boba Fett show without Boba Fett, or at least it started out that way.
Right. Clearly, after they've met and you've seen them interact, Din and Boba are distinctly different characters. I think they've done a great job of doing that. But I think you could still look at Din and go well, we have a badass Mandalorian character. Well, we need Boba Fett. I think this show, will probably go a long way to kind of justifying that. Okay, Boba Fett's come back. Why is he come back? What's he going to be doing? How is he going to affect the galaxy and affect all these characters? And what part is he going to play in not just the overall Star Wars story, but
for all we know, another thing that they could do that, to say that Boba Fett's still the villain, is he might not be happy with Han Solo and Luke Skywalker for all we know. It's that's oh, well, so and that's going to be a really weird disconnect. Because remember, he didn't see Luke Skywalker. He
avoided him just barely.
So it's sort of Boba's probably not happy with Luke Skywalker. And I think this is probably one of those few places where Boba can be a little petty. He's come on, I'm sure Luke didn't know Boba did it on purpose, but I'm sure Boba's not happy. And if he sees Luke Skywalker, he probably wants a little bit of payback.
Yeah,
either through death or for good punching.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see as he let go of all that, has he, because of his time in the Sarlacc pit, did that change his perspective? Is he kind of letting go of all that, or is he building up and saying, "Hey, I want to get revenge on this Han Solo guy that knocked me in the Sarlacc pit and did this to me in the first place"? And I don't know. Is he? I feel like that would be redundant to the point of
just throw him in the Sarlacc pit again.
Well, it would be too close to what they did with Darth Maul. Maul died, and then he came back, and he's just constantly obsessed with getting revenge on Kenobi. I think it would be weird to bring another character back and then go, okay, yeah, his only concern is getting revenge on.
Maul and I said earlier, Maul and Boba kind of are already doing the crime lord thing.
Right. That's a big parallel that I didn't even think of until you just said that. That's crazy. So they need to be careful. Let these characters do their own thing, and let's not let revenge guide all characters. Because
I saw boring. A funny post on Twitter of somebody talk about Maul and have image of Maul and in Clone Wars and Boba, and they're both sitting on the throne. It's oh yeah, they brought back and they both get to sit on thrones. And it's funny, Maul ruled over Mandalore, and Boba is technically a Mandalorian, so there's a lot of parallels between Maul and Boba right now.
Man, it's there's got to be like
that's that Filoni poetry for you, I guess.
Well, okay, we're gonna start getting slowly into all of these rumors and stuff that have been floating around. One of them is that a Crimson Dawn Darth Maul show is happening. It's gonna be coming out next year or something. And Lucasfilm Animation's like already working on this. It's happening. I wonder, like, could we see Boba Fett and Darth Maul cross paths in there? Because obviously,
I mean, I'm expecting Boba Fett to show up in Bad Batch and Maul to show up in Bad Batch. So, yeah,
an whole big party.
Oh yeah,
with Maul and Omega
and Crimson Dawn eventually in Book of Boba. It's.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope for all these crossovers. I think there's a lot of potential there.
I mean, I will say though, I think one way to differentiate if Boba does want revenge of any sort, I think I wouldn't make it so obsessive, and I think that because I don't, unless they're gonna do the Legends thing of making Boba and Han Solo like these arch rivals for years, I get the impression from canon, just from what I've read in the comics and other things, that Boba doesn't have that with Han. I mean, maybe they were going to give him that if the Solo movie panned out, and they kind of like that, and the Boba film was going to be in the Solo time frame, and then there was going to be this whole crossover thing that everyone said was going to happen, but that didn't seem to pan out. So, like, I don't know if they're going to go with the Boba and Han Solo are like these arch rivals because Empire Strikes Back kind of connected them, and then Return of the Jedi connected them, and it's like, okay, now we have to make them arch rivals. So, like, I would rather just like Boba's not happy with them. And so maybe he doesn't want a little payback, but he's not going to go full on Darth Maul obsessive over it. And also, Boba has Fennec. Again, Boba has a bit of a support system with him that Maul didn't really have.
And we have to remember that, like, Fennec in Bad Batch was set up to be kind of very, very heroic in a way. She wasn't out to kill Omega.
She's not chaotic evil.
Right. That doesn't say she doesn't have a bad side. Like, she's supposed to be like one of the most like notorious like sniper killers in this era. So like she's not a good person per se, but she maybe has more of a conscience than your average hunter.
I think Boba in a weird way, I think from a psychological standpoint, I think he's had more influence to more honorable people compared to Maul, who, if we know the history, was given up to Sidious as a baby, and if Sidious is essentially your dad, then that's not good. But from what they seem to be implying with Django was an honorable man. I like to think Django's like one of the best dads of Star Wars. That's my personal headcanon. I like to think he was actually a really good dad. And then even I wouldn't say Aura Singh was a good role model, or even Hondo or Naka per se.
No.
But even Hondo or Naka, I remember in the episode with Boba, with Clone Wars, Hondo was kind of talking Boba off the ledge a little bit. I don't remember much about what that episode was about, but I remember Hondo was like talking him off the ledge. It's like, your fuss is what your father would have done. Be honorable. That's what you got to do.
I liked that whole thing where Hondo had this backstory about Hondo knowing Django and kind of like, tell Mace what he wants to know, not because, not because not because Boba Fett wanted it, but because it was the right thing to do. And I think Hondo kind of showed he's got a heart. He kind of acts like he doesn't care a lot of times, but he does care.
He's not sinister.
Another thing. Let's throw Hondo in the mix somewhere. Let's see Hondo show up somewhere.
I'm shocked he hasn't. Also, there's one way you can do the series. I think, at least in my mind, I might be wrong. They're smarter than me. Always assume that the creators are smarter than you. Where you can do the series, still have Boba be kind of shady, but in the end, he's the good guy. And you bring in Cad Bane.
Oh,
because, and here's how, and this is why. This is why. Because if Boba's shady, Boba might be shady, but if you bring in someone who's like objectively worse than Boba Fett, that's Cad Bane. Cad Bane, the mentor. Cad Bane, kind of, the Solo's mentor guy. What was his name?
Beckett.
Beckett, like he's Boba's Beckett, and clearly he's worse than Boba. Because I always think Cad Bane's like objectively just worse than Boba. That way you can kind of have like, okay, Boba's bad-ish. He does some things, but Cad Bane's worse. And so that makes Boba the hero by contrast.
I like that a lot because, like, Cad Bane, Boba Fett's like most of the time categorized as bad guy, but maybe he can be a good guy. You don't really know where he stands. Whereas Cad Bane was never shown to be heroic. He was always just evil, or just like at the very least has no conscience.
Right.
If you tell him to go do something, he's like the ultimate like bounty hunter in the way that he will go. He's not all the you have all the other bounty hunters that showed up, and you have Embo or whatever. Like you never know where they're gonna fall, but Cad Bane's like, yeah, I'm a bad guy and whatever. That would be very interesting. And so I was gonna ask, besides the ones we've already discussed, if you could pick one, and we'll maybe we'll lead into the rumors after this. But I do want to kind of wrap up this discussion with this discussion. If you had one cameo in the Book of Boba Fett in season 1, or any of the parts, any seasons perhaps, that you could make happen, who would you pick?
Kira. And Cred Stinger. To say, like, she was the one behind all of it. Whatever it will be.
I love it.
Who will you pick? Who's your pick?
Ooh, see, I think in a perfect world where there is no any of the
no limits.
No limits, no real world politics of like recasting and digital faces and all this kind of stuff. I would love to see Han and Chewie.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think we will see Han and Chewie, or the Han, but I think it's going to be deepfake. Like, that's like the realistic answer. But I can get that. Yeah,
they've set the precedent. As much as I'm not, I'm iffy on it. They've set the precedent, and they've set themselves up for, okay, we're doing this. So I could see it happening. Maybe not. It would be cool. It would be cool to kind of have. It would make this era feel like, I feel like we haven't got a whole lot with those characters in this era. I think kind of filling that out and figuring out, okay, what's Han doing? What's Leia doing? What's Luke doing? We've seen Luke. We know what he's doing. He's off training Grogu, trying to feed that thing. But
little Ben Solo's out there somewhere in Texas.
Right, exactly. He's like 5 at this point, I guess. That would be interesting.
I think so.
But what is all these characters doing, and the fact that they can just intersect and have legendary characters like Boba Fett and Han Solo in the same scene would be great. Not betting on it. I don't think it's going to happen, but
I'm not bet. I'm going to say this. I'm kind of betting on Kira, just a little bit, like a small tinge of hope. If I hope that the comics that they're doing right now have some meaning behind them.
I think the stars are aligning. You've got, in the story front, you've got Kira. She showed up in the comics. They're really doing a lot with her.
Well, they did a big Boba Fett comic before Book of Boba, and Kira's in it. So it's like,
you could easily say that, well, they're not doing anything with her, so they can just do whatever in the comics. They could also be setting something up, knowing where it's going, and going like, hey, we're gonna set her up and show that she's in this era past Solo, and she's doing stuff. Also, Emilia Clarke, I believe, right now is filming for the Disney Plus show Secret Wars. I think it's Secret Wars. Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion is the Skrull Invasion show that they're doing. It's got Sam Jackson, Mace Windu, Sam Jackson in it. And so, like, she's already signed up with Disney Plus. She's working actively with this company and with this studio. Just take her just the next set over. Just get her on Book of Boba Fett. It's not that big a deal. Come on.
If it's an end credit stinger, it's only have to be like 5 seconds a day. Like, I'm sure that no one knew about that Book of Boba end credit stinger. No one leaked that. So
yeah, and she doesn't like she's aged a day in the comics. So I think Emilia Clarke could easily play a version of herself that's like 15 years older.
Oh yeah.
So okay. So we've talked about Book of Boba Fett. That's great. Awesome. But there is some other stuff happening. I'm going to skip down to, because this is stuff that actually you just brought to me and brought to my attention. This is a wild rumor. This showed up on Reddit. A quote-unquote wild rumor about something. And so apparently, okay, first of all, let me start with this tweet. It says, this is from Big Screen Leaks on Twitter. They say, quote, there's a Star Wars film planning to shoot next year. It's not Taika Waititi's film. It's not Kevin Feige's film. And it's not Rogue Squadron.
Ooh.
So, okay, that's like intriguing. There's a movie going into production next year. They're already doing all these new series. They've announced all these movies are happening. They've announced the creators, but they haven't told us what they are, except for Rogue Squadron. What could this be? Well, I'm glad you asked, because now we have this thing that showed up on Star Wars Newsnet that they have a report, and it says, rumor, Lucasfilm developing an Old Republic movie for 2023 as a Rogue Squadron, as Rogue Squadron could move to 2024.
Ooh.
Suggesting here, with the long and short of it, is that Rogue Squadron was supposed to be going into production sometime soon, and then going to be releasing in 2023. And I read through this, and maybe I'll scan through it again. But basically, they're saying that Patty Jenkins, who's directing that film, is she's busy with some stuff. The script is going through rewrites. They're not quite ready to go into production with that, so they're pushing it back. And apparently they already have another project ready to go and ready to get in front of cameras. And what they're saying, that this is an Old Republic movie that's going to be filming next year and releasing the next year. I was flabbergasted by this, because it sounds insane. I'm not sure how I buy it, but Joel, you were the one that brought this to my attention. Please, what's your hot take on this?
So I'm actually going to have a very unconventional hot take. If this is true, this is a good sign. That means Disney's not going to try to rush their movies anymore, especially with Star Wars, which was probably their biggest sin when it came to the first batch of Star Wars films. It's what happens when you rush. You get some underbaked ones. So I'm happy that they learned that lesson. In terms of Old Republic itself, and if it's true, this is one of those things where it's like, I won't be surprised when it happens, but I still gotta see it to believe it, kind of a situation where it's like,
me too.
I will not be shocked if an Old Republic movie happens, because I do think Disney and Lucasfilm are receptive to what people want. They're not. I think they're less receptive. I hate this. Cancel this. Yada yada. I think they're more receptive to we want this. Can we have this? People have been clamoring for Rogue Squadron for years. We're getting Rogue Squadron. I think that was one of the most asked things ever. Old Republic. You wouldn't shock me if they ever said, "Hey, we're doing ancient Jedi and Sith movie." Who wouldn't want that? Just dozens of Sith and Jedi running around shooting lightsabers and big battles that look like Lord of the Rings. So that's exciting. I always like to just profess to people that if they do an Old Republic movie, it's not going to look like the games. They're not making a movie out of the games. It's not going to look anything like it. I hope not, because I don't like the aesthetic of the Old Republic outside of the first KOTOR. That's just me. That's my hot take. I don't like the look of the MMO.
I've heard that opinion a lot. You're not the only one.
I get people liking the MMO. It's its own thing, but it's the ancient past. It's and I don't like it. So it's I feel like too many people are gonna jump on this. Oh my god, Darth Malgus and Emperor Vishit are showing up, and unless the director who is doing this is a big MMO fan, or the writer, I don't see that happening. But I do see ancient Jedi versus this story happening. And if that's the case, then hey, let's do it. I've been waiting for an Old Republic thing forever. So, I'm willing to sacrifice Rogue Squadron, because don't get me wrong, I like Rogue Squadron, but also I wouldn't be surprised, because I do wonder if they're a little skittish unless of a movie without Jedi in it. And I think Star Wars, as much as we fans like to say Star Wars can be about anything, and I think Book of Boba and Mandalorian are kind of proving this point, Star Wars is about the Jedi, especially general audiences. I think to them, the Force, the Jedi, that's Star Wars to a lot of people. And while I think the Disney Plus shows can get away with not touching those things because their audiences are a bit smaller, I think for the movie-going audiences, Star Wars is about the Jedi, the Sith, or just the Jedi in general, and the Force and lightsabers. So I think it might be just a bit of a risk to just start off a new wave of movies without it. So they might want a safety net kind of a situation with like, although I thought Rogue Squadron would be been a good safety net too for them with like, here's a kind of a guaranteed success maybe.
Fighter pilot movie. We're all. It's a very familiar concept.
Yeah, and the X-wings, TIE fighters, which in some ways I think would actually make Old Republic like a riskier because like, oh, this is going to be a new era. Like, you're not going to have anything familiar outside of a lightsaber and a couple of familiar alien species and names. But I hope it's true because I wouldn't mind getting that first, honestly, not having to wait around. But we'll have to see. Someone retweeted an article from BuzzFeed like a year ago saying, let me look this up if you don't mind on my phone.
No, it's fine.
Somebody was writing Old Republic films. Oh shoot, I forgot who. There we go. Someone named Leda Kalogridis from BuzzFeed, writing Knights of the Old Republic movies. Again, this was from an article from BuzzFeed in 2019.
Wow.
Which is 19, 20, 21. That's like 3 years. No,
yeah, it's a while ago.
So they probably have some scripts maybe already done, and now they just need directors. And someone also, someone pointed out like around that time, wasn't like DJ Dillard hired for something?
Yeah, there was a recent rumor that came out that they had DJ or JD Dillard and
JD Dillard,
and there was another guy that was with him, and they were working on a movie. I think they were saying that it had morphed into something else, something to do with Lando. Maybe I'm not sure.
I think that Lando one was something else. I remember somebody else saying the JD Dillard one was like the Finn series that was rumored.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is. It was that was a kind of a twin rumor that they were working on something else. There had morphed into something else, and it had morphed into a Finn series, and John Boyega was coming back.
And one more kind of like putting together a little conspiracy board here. I remember rumors that the Game of Thrones dudes movies were going to be ancient Jedi stuff. So. And then they left the project, but, that doesn't mean that the idea is dead. Just now someone else is in charge of it.
I mean, they were in the pipeline doing that stuff, creating those writing scripts, whatever, developing that story for a while before they left for Netflix. So, like...
I mean, sometimes, that doesn't mean it stops developing. Like, I know Disney films that got rid of their team and they put on a new team, and then that script kind of morphed into other things. Like, if you ever have a good time, watch a documentary called The Sweat Box. It talks about the making of The Emperor's New Groove and how that movie was going to be completely different to what we have now. It's going to be something called The Sun King. It's going to be more dramatic and before it became like a comedy. So like, there's probably a lot of stuff happening, and it's sort of like certain things are like more close to the actual getting shot and directed than others. So maybe this is just one of those things. It's like it's been in development so long, we're now ready to start shooting. So again, I hesitate. I warn caution for everyone getting excited about this. But on the other hand, I wouldn't be shocked if something happened.
Here's two red flags for me, really quick. One is, them saying that, okay, Rogue Squadron may not be ready in time. They're still working with it, and they're doing script rewrites, and Patty Jenkins is supposed to be working on Wonder Woman 3, and she's gonna be busy with that for a while, and they're saying, okay, we're gonna push it back a year. Great. That makes sense. After everything we've gone through with, ramming Star Wars movies through and making them work or whatever, Lucasfilm has learned that, like, let's not
you Rise of Skywalker, even though I like you.
Exactly.
Even Force Awakens do a little bit.
Right. So I think they've learned that, like, hey, let's not ram this through. Let's just take our time. If we need to push it back, that's fine. But they still have that thing, and it's almost like it makes sense. But then they're saying the same thing again when they're saying, okay, there's this secret Star Wars movie that no one has heard about, or at least not officially, that they're going to be putting in production immediately, and it's going to be happening within a few months. We're in November now. If it's going into production next year, when we release the next year, we can assume that it'll be filming very, very soon. Like they're casting maybe now. Who knows? We haven't heard about this thing. They haven't announced it or nothing. Maybe that's what's going to happen next week. Maybe that's the big bomb they're going to drop on us is that Rogue Squadron's moving and they're going to do a Old Republic movie. So that seems kind of crazy to me. So that's a red flag.
That's true.
A second red flag is just the Old Republic in general. Every time I hear they're doing something with the Old Republic, it's very, very fan servicey. It's something that a lot of people love, and more power to them. I love it too. But anytime something gets rumored, I'm like, I don't really buy that because it feels like something somebody would have made up. And not to say that I don't think that we will get a Old Republic movie or series or something at some point. I think you absolutely will.
Something pre-Phantom Menace.
Right. But I don't necessarily buy it happening right now. I think think so. My logical assessment of this is okay, maybe this is happening. The whole Rogue Squadron being pushed back, that makes sense. Maybe they want to put something in the front of it. That kind of makes sense, although it's kind of crazy. I don't think it's going to be Old Republic. I think it'll be something else. Maybe it'll be that, I don't know, that Mos Eisley movie they were talking about a few years ago. Something that was in production they were going to do, and then they just scrapped it, and they can just go back to it and go this is ready to go. Let's do this. And maybe something like that. And maybe it is an Old Republic movie. I don't know. Lucasfilm is very good at keeping secrets, even though sometimes it doesn't appear that way. So maybe Disney Plus Day, maybe in a week from now, we'll be having our tunes changed very soon.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely, it's interesting. Some of the, it wasn't just Star Wars Newsnet that's been posting stuff. Some of the other leakers like Jordan Mason, they've been doing some things. So, it's sort of like I like to look for the signs of the leakers and stuff like that. Kind of okay. I mean, they could all be wrong. They've been wrong before. I remember Rebels animated series. Whatever happened to that?
Well,
if that even existed.
Okay. Let's bring up, since we're talking about rumors, there's something that could happen, and we won't spend too much time on this because I want to talk about the other stuff. But this is a perfect example of something that when people say, "Oh, all these leaks and rumors, they're all BS. They're all things because this person got that wrong or that person got this wrong," and sometimes there are things. And yes, this is the old age-old thing of they want to paint all rumors and leaks with a broad brush and go they're all the same. No, some actually do happen. A good friend of ours, Corey and Noah over at he's at Convor Call now. He called it. They had the Bad Batch pegged. Oh yeah, well before it was announced.
Didn't they also call the Lando series too?
I believe so. They've called a lot of things. So they are a very reliable source. If you're looking for Star Wars rumors, you can pretty much bet on there. They've gotten a few things wrong though, and that's okay because things change.
Oh yeah,
definitely. A perfect example of this is Matt Smith came out recently on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, and you remember back in the day, prior to the Rise of Skywalker, he was going to be in the movie. Variety posted and said, "Hey, he is in talks. He's been cast in this movie. He's going to be in the Rise of Skywalker." And I personally went into the Rise of Skywalker going wow, so Matt Smith wasn't in any of the trailers. What's he gonna be doing? What's Matt Smith gonna be in this movie? And I came out going wait, Matt Smith wasn't in that movie. What? That, it was crazy. And now he's come out and said that he's confirmed it after denying it for a few years now. He confirmed it. They said, "Hey, yes, this is happening." He said, quote, that was, we were close to me being in it and it never quite happened. I think the thing that they were thinking of me for, eventually that part became obsolete. They didn't need it, so I never got to be in Star Wars. He says, he also goes on to say that it would have been a big shift in the history of the franchise. And he says they were in talks. There was no costumes. He never filmed anything, but it was a done deal. It was happening and they just didn't do it. And a lot of people, and that's just a thing. It happens. Variety reported us on this and said, "Hey, we heard that Matt Smith is happening," and at the time that was true. It just didn't come to pass.
That's you bring up a good point. It's I think we as fans think everything is set in stone,
right?
Whether be it movies, marketing, and it's not. It's all fluid, and I think people think that that's a bad thing. And in reality, it really just depends. I heard Revenge of the Sith was constantly changing every day, and that thing got edited to the last minute, and people liked it. And Rise of Skywalker, that happened. The script was changing, things were being edited. I've heard things of like Palpatine's connection to the dyad was a lot different in earlier versions compared to like this last minute. Oh, dyad, cool. I heard it was like a lot more like Palpatine was going to be like know about the dyad from day one,
Right?
And that changed, and that to some people that didn't work. Actually, I don't think that kind of worked either.
You can go on Twitter right now, right this moment, and find someone complaining about the Rise of Skywalker and pointing to, oh, look at this and this script change and this thing that happened and J.J. Abrams did this and they re-recorded this lines with Adam Driver that, and that's why the movie's bad. That they're saying that right now. The thing is, you can go back to what is arguably the most beloved movie out of the entire new pack of films, Rogue One.
Oh yeah,
that movie had the worst production.
Had two directors.
I remember reading the reports before Rogue One came out during production when they said, hey, stuff's happening. They're reshooting this movie, like half of it. Like, it's bad. And I remember like people were like freaking out, going like, oh my God, Rogue One's done. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be the worst. Like, they ruined it. And, like this happened. And guess what? Everybody loves that movie. And like, this stuff,
it's funny how Last Jedi had the smoothest production, and yet it's still polarizing. I love Last Jedi. Don't get me wrong. I think it's actually really well scripted.
It's the one movie that like there was like it was just so smooth. Nothing happened. There was no reports. There was nobody breaking anybody's legs or no director changes or anything like that. It was just smooth sailing.
Which is why I honestly think they'll bring back Rian Johnson, because I don't think the studio cares about whether or not fans think they're like, this guy gave us a smooth production. We're still going to work with this guy.
Yeah, I think they obviously really liked Rian. So I think they're biding their time. They're like, okay, the farther we get out from this, the less angry people will be. And like we've seen from the prequels that like people get over this stuff. So like we'll wait a few years. We'll bring Rian back. He'll do an amazing job. He'll be his good old self.
Now, obviously, having smooth production is nice, and I think it has its benefits. But and having like, I don't want to say a plan, but like a general direction and maybe like a more full-on script. Like some directors are like that. Like I think Rian Johnson is that kind of director. It's like the script is exactly, you follow the script exactly. I have it all ready to go. We shoot, we go, and then even George and JJ, they kind of do that kind of thing where it's like, we're going to change it, and we're changing it. 4-hour movie, 2-hour movie, we're cutting stuff out. And it either works for you or it doesn't. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and throughout the original trilogy, A New Hope, George Lucas almost freaking had a heart attack during that movie. Like
Empire Strikes Back.
And everyone thought it was a joke. Empire Strikes Back was like there was so many problems. They almost ran out of money.
Return to the Jedi had the same thing Rogue Squadron had, Rogue One had, with like the kind of ghost director thing.
Right. The fact that Richard Marquand directed it, but he kind of didn't because George Lucas was kind of like shadowing him the entire time. All kinds of weird stuff happening. If you look into the production of these movies, they're a mess. They are most of them, except for Last Jedi, are a mess. And most of them turned out all right. So like, the whole drama and then like trying to paint a picture of like, I don't like this movie because they wrote this scene. Like it's not that simple. If you don't like The Rise of Skywalker, that's fine. But I don't think it's because of some onset stuff, because it could have been easily going like, well, look how the movie turned out despite all this madness happening behind the scenes. Like,
I mean, I know nothing about Marvel movies production, but I'm sure there were some messes there too for some of the beloved ones that we have.
Yeah, well, and you it's funny you say that. They had a book came out recently. It was like the making of the MCU, and like there was a lot of drama. They said Kevin Feige like almost walked away at one point during the production. I think it was of Civil War, because they were like going back and forth about stuff. And I mean, imagine Kevin Feige walking away. Like that had to be bad. But
I've heard
they made
stories
it work.
about like how back in like before Phase 3, Kevin Feige still had to report to this like Ike Perlmutter, who was like the CEO of Marvel, and like the TV division and the movie division hated each other, and Ike Perlmutter was like this horrible person, and kind of I've heard bad things about Ike Perlmutter, the CEO of Marvel.
If you want an adventure online, go look up Ike Perlmutter.
Oh yeah,
that guy, man, he is a real bad dude. real
Oh,
bad
yeah.
dude, and he had a lot of power in the first many of the first years
First
of
two
Marvel.
phases of
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
Like, not till like phase 3 did they give it all to did Disney like kind of sideline him and like, okay, Feige, you're in charge now. And you can see it.
And basically, they like Feige, I think, threatened to walk away, and they like gave him all the power. So now Perlmutter is gone, and all those other idiots are gone. And like
And to
Feige has
connect
full
this to
control.
Star Wars again, Patty Jenkins walked away from Lord of the Dark World.
She was gonna do that, and I mean, I don't know. It might have been just as forgettable, but it might have been better because of that. Who knows? You never know.
Taika, so yeah,
we got Taika. We got Thor Ragnarok, so we won. Everybody wins. It's fine. She went on to do Wonder Woman and killed that. So,
now she's back.
Now she's back. Now she's doing Star Wars. Now she's everywhere.
I think what we're just trying to get at, folks, is it's okay if these films have messy productions. It doesn't. It's not going to determine whether they're good or bad, or if you like them or dislike them. At the end of the day, it really is just down to sheer luck.
It really is. It really is. There's movie making. There's no perfect science. If there was like a perfect like balance, and they could just like put this ingredient, and make a perfect movie, everyone will be doing it. It's obviously not that. It's a very complicated process that takes thousands of people, and sometimes the best of intentions and the best of efforts still turn out to be a quote unquote bad movie that people don't like. And that's okay too. It's okay. It's okay to not like things and like things. But apparently we're getting an Old Republic movie. Apparently that's happening like as soon as next year. So take that as you will. Obviously this is a rumor. Don't go blathering on Twitter. Hey, this is happening. No, don't go into Disney Plus Day.
Keep your expectations low.
Speculate responsibly, as I've heard said. So maybe we'll be getting this, maybe we won't, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless. Okay. Also, there's something that came out recently. This is from your only nope, Rodrigo Perez on Twitter. He says that don't really think it's news, ? Or not really enough for an article since I have nothing else but to pin it to, but recently told that Andor will be 3 seasons with Tony Gilroy staying on. So maybe, they're saying like, and he actually follows up in a tweet and says, I should clarify this is a creator intention. Should it quote unquote bomb? That probably wouldn't be the case. So they're like saying if it does good, it's going to be like 3 season arc, and that's it. And so like they recently said that K2 is not going to be in the first season, implying that he's going to show up in a later season. So we kind of already have a confirmation of season 2, or at least planning on it. I don't think it's going to bomb, but I think
I have high hopes for Cassian. I think it's going to be a sleeper hit. I completely agree with you. I am 100% on board with you that I think it's going to be the show that everyone's going to be talking about. Just like Rogue One was like, oh, what's Rogue One? Oh my God, it's amazing. Like, I think everyone's going to be looking at Obi-Wan Kenobi and going, this is the stuff I want. And then they're going to be like, oh, well, there's Andor. Do you want to hear my sad prediction about Star Wars? About the Star Wars?
Oh, no. Lay it on me.
I think Cassian will be the Rogue One because obviously, because it's Tony Gilroy, Cassian. I think Kenobi has a good chance of getting the Last Jedi type discourse.
Oh no!
I mean, think about it though. It's the movie everyone wants. It's the thing everyone wants. But yet, I think we all have our perception of what Kenobi is going to be like in that time frame, and I don't think they're going to give that to us per se. I mean, maybe they'll balance it out more. Maybe they won't be as hard hitting as Rian Johnson was with Luke, and maybe there'll be some plot thing. But like, I've already seen people like they have a vision of what Kenobi should be like in that time period. And if you do the smart thing, which I would do, it's like you don't make him the perfect Jedi Master. He should be broken, sad, and depressed. Maybe not completely as cranky as Luke was per se, but he's definitely in that mental frame.
You're making too much sense now. I don't like this. You're making way too much sense. And I'm also thinking about the fact that like we're already hearing some things I've seen a lot of discourse about, like, oh, the fact that Obi-Wan and Vader are going to fight again. People are like, I don't know about that. That's kind of breaking canon.
I have a defense about the Obi-Wan Vader fight.
Lay it on me.
Even without Kenobi, that duel makes no sense from a story perspective. And here's why. The last thing Obi-Wan hears about Anakin is from Padme when she says there's still good in him. But in A New Hope, he's all right. He's ready to kill that dude. He's ready to kill Vader. So either Kenobi's a jerk and he didn't listen to Padme, or something happened that switched his mind and we don't know about it. And then also, and this is the thing everyone else says, in Return of the Jedi, Vader says, Obi-Wan once thought as you do. Now, you can technically maybe think that that's more to Revenge of the Sith, but I don't think Kenobi did a very good job of trying to get Anakin back to the light side in Revenge of the Sith. He was ready to kill that guy. And then again, at A New Hope, he was like, "Nah, you're evil, Darth. Let's do this. Let's nuke it out." So already from like A New Hope's connecting to both Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith, the Kenobi Vader relationship has a plot hole in it. Just I guess
it really, like, as much as I love Revenge of the Sith, and of course I love A New Hope,
they don't interface.
They don't match. They
and even
really
Return of the
don't.
Jedi.
They really don't match. And yeah, again, Return of the Jedi is like there's a lot of stuff in there. It's like that Obi-Wan once thought as you do. I didn't catch that part. That's been in the deleted scene or something. But I think my take on it is like that's weird. That's very bold of them. But they have a chance to actually make it work better. I don't think they can make it any worse than it already is, really, to be honest.
I think the Kenobi series might strengthen those plot threads and finally kind of tighten it up. But again, I'm a little worried about the Last Jedi, that Last Jedi reaction, because I don't know what people are kind of expecting from this. Not in both in terms of like we want it. We've been wanting to see Ewan. We want to see Ewan, but I think people want Ewan from the prequels. But he should be Ewan from the prequels. He should be kind of this in between person, kind of between Alec and young Ewan, and also just mentally, Obi-Wan's not the hello there. Like maybe he'll do that just a little bit, just for us. But he should be sad. He should be depressed. He should be thinking about, oh my god, all my Jedi friends are dead, and Anakin's dead, and Luke, I gotta take care of this kid. But do I really want to? It's like, is he kind of in that Luke Skywalker space right now? Maybe not to an extreme, because he did go to Tatooine. He's kind of on a mission, but he's probably not in that. He's not full Jedi Master Kenobi that from both A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith. He's kind of in that kind of lost space.
And like in The Last Jedi, you have Luke like going like the people kind of get hung up on when it comes to like Luke being on the island and everything like he's given up. He says, look, the Jedi were bad to begin with. They were corrupt. And they're over and they should be done. And I'm not going to bring them back because I'm just going to create this cycle of violence and create, another Darth Vader. Obi-Wan's in the exact same position. He's coming off of a time when the Jedi were corrupt. They couldn't see their hand in front of their face when it came to the dark side, literally. And he helped create Darth Vader. Like, he helped create one of the most Obi-Wan has all the reasons, if not more reason, to walk away and go like, screw this. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. The Jedi are done and I'm done. And I got this whiny blonde kid over here. I don't even want to, hang out with him, much less watch after him. He's always trying to get himself into trouble. So like, I love that idea. And that's what I want. Some people may not like that, but I like that idea of like Obi-Wan being very depressed and the series will work him into, just as Last Jedi does, work him into realizing what his mission is and what he needs to do. Right.
And that's why I think, unfortunately, you might get a Last Jedi reaction from the Kenobi series.
It's scary, but maybe I think you could be very, very right there. We shall see. Oh goodness.
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot happening. And I mean, Disney Plus Day is exactly a week from tonight.
But you want to talk a little about that Maul rumor too?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's not in the notes, but yes, let's talk about that. So, the other rumor that's floating around, and this has actually been brought up by a couple of different sources, so pretty strong sources behind this, are suggesting that alongside the Bad Batch, we are getting another animated series. It's in production right now, and it's going to be focused on Darth Maul and Crimson Dawn, and set before Solo and after the Clone Wars, and basically what Maul's doing during that time and after he got away from Ahsoka, and what's happening there. So, and they said that Sam Witwer's on board. They also said that Dee Baker's on there, that Matt Lanter is involved somehow. So I don't know what's going on there as far as the voice cast goes. But
Dee Bradley Baker's he does other voices in the clones.
He does a lot of voices.
He does every voice.
He does pretty much every voice. So not what I expected. Definitely interesting idea to give Maul his own series. I love Maul, so I'm interested.
I could buy it.
But set in this era, I think we're all kind of expecting Maul to maybe show up in Bad Batch and Crimson Dawn or whatever else. But giving him his own series, that's kind of wild.
I mean, maybe they'll do a backdoor pilot thing. I mean, remember Clone Wars had some backdoor pilot ideas that they never got off the ground, like that Younglings show
show. Yeah.
I think that was the only backdoor pilot they did for Clone Wars. I think. Well, no, Bad Batch technically, but
I think Bad Batch, Younglings. I mean, who knows what else? Those are only two that we really know for sure were happening. Or at the very least, I don't know if they originally conceived the Bad Batch as a spin-off show. I think
not in the Lucas era for sure.
Yeah, right. I think you're right. That's they kind of they were going to be part of the show, but then they reimagined them and hey, we can keep them going after the Clone Wars is over, which was a good idea, I think.
Oh yeah. So I could see maybe I would not be shocked. I'm putting money hard that Maul shows up in season 2. But I could totally see a Maul animated show happening, and also maybe they'll do something. Maybe they could do something where it's season 1 is pre-Solo, then season 2 and 3 are post-Solo. Kind of here's how Maul kind of dealt with Crimson Dawn, then Solo happens, and then 2 and 3 Maul and Kira adventures.
If we can't get a proper Solo 2 and a continuation of that story, I'll take an animated series. I'll take something giving us
anything involving Crimson Dawn. They're the most interesting part.
I really like that criminals organization. I love what they did, and I love the idea of giving more depth to that and figuring out and understanding that Crimson Dawn was existing even during the Clone Wars, and kind of seeing that he was already working on it. So how big is their influence? And also it might shed more light on how they continue on into potentially the sequel era. In regards to what they're doing and how big their influence is, because we've never heard of them before Solo, but apparently they're out there and there's a lot going on with them.
Oh yeah. So yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that's, I think, is all the rumors. I think you can obviously find a bunch more on YouTube, but we're only talking about the reputable ones.
I'm sure 20 more have popped on Reddit since last we talked. So
yeah. And there's a lot of stuff happening in Disney Plus Day. As I said, coming up in about a week. I have a feeling at least one of the things we talked about tonight will be confirmed.
I hope so. You never know. They might change something last minute. They could do that,
It's very true. There's something happening. There's the old rumor again. I heard a rumor that Josh Trank was going to be. I was at that panel. The I think it was a future filmmakers panel. I think that's what they called it, and it was going to be Josh Trank and Gareth Edwards, and they were going to be. Gareth Edwards was there to talk about Rogue One. They showed the first Rogue One trailer there.
That was cool.
And then you had Josh Trank, who got sick and didn't show up and couldn't make it.
Yeah,
and
got sick
then
doing that.
All that happened, and the rest is history. And we never saw that movie, whatever he was going to talk about. But the old rumor was Josh Trank was working on a Boba Fett movie, all this kind of stuff, and just
was
never
that
happened.
Confirmed, and that just got canceled because Josh Trank kind of self-destructed.
Pretty much. I think there was a lot of, but they apparently had a Boba Fett trailer ready to go. They were going to show it there. It was going to happen, and they last minute they pulled it, and then pulled Josh Trank.
Yeah, poor guy.
And that didn't happen. So and the rest is history. So like anything can happen. There's no telling. They're talking about this right now, talking about what they're going to show next week. They're filming that stuff probably because it's all like pre-recorded. So like, what could they be talking about? And what will we not see? What will we see?
I'm trying to keep my expectations low because like we have a bunch of projects already announced. We got a good wave, so it's like I know we all want more, but it's like, come on, we got a good wave. It's not like this isn't 2019, early 2020 when we thought we had like nothing. Remember those times where we were like all worried, like, oh, what's coming up next? That's Mando season 3, and now we have this whole thing.
Yep. It's a crazy time. Crazy time. Okay, there's some non-Star Wars stuff that I want to get to before we wrap up for the night.
Okay.
But I do want to give a special shout out quickly to our patrons, specifically Mr. Joey Mays and Mr. Jesse Bennett, who you heard on our last episode. And Joey Mays, who, I don't want to spoil anything, but we're working on something ghostly, and maybe in the next
You're a
few
month
weeks.
late for ghostly.
So maybe in the next few weeks you will see that happen. But they are on the shout out friend tier. And they get a shout out every single week in here, or every other week when we broadcast here on Fandom Empire. And so you can become that. You can go over to patreon.com/IPC podcast and get a load of what we've got going over there, and get some nice exclusive stuff. We have a special Facebook group that's only available to our patrons. You get behind the scenes info, whatever. You get special influence on the show. We'll ask you guys. We'll actually poll you, get your information. Like some of the news tonight was from you guys and the patrons, and also you get the show notes and you get a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's really a great group of people, and they help keep the lights on. And you can actually be on the show. That's the best part about it. Most of the patrons have actually been on the show the past
few
few
months. Lights on, not my lights on.
You don't want to see my lights off, all right? It's not pretty. It's not pretty. I used to do it with the lights off. It's not good. And also, we have another supporter, Jesse Bennett, who has the Question Possible Answer podcast. He supports us. That show supports us. And I want to tell you guys about it. So this is from their official little description. It says, come join us at question/possible answer as we discuss some of our favorite movies with a twist, ignoring canon. Every question is on the table unless the answer is given in the series. We also introduce our own fun theories and possibilities. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at question/possible answer on Facebook, and question_possible_answer on Instagram. Now available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and other podcast services. And it's a great show. This is not scripted. This is me talking and saying that it's a great show, and I listened to it. And Jesse, that thing, we were supposed to do that thing. I just remembered. I'm sorry. We're gonna do that. All right. We're supposed to do something with question possible answer. So I'm saying you right now. All right. We need to make that happen. All right. Because I was really disappointed when we couldn't make that work. But yeah, we're gonna do it. All right. We're gonna do it.
You're gonna do the thing.
You're gonna do the thing. You'll see the thing eventually. But that's it. Patreon.com/IPC podcast, where you can get all of those pluses and a little bit more. And before we wrap up, let's go over. We talked a little bit about Marvel, so let's talk about the Hawkeye series. Since the last couple episodes we've done, there has been a few trailers that have popped up for Hawkeye. There's like 3 trailers. I don't really call them trailers. They're kind of like teasers, and there were like TV spots. But we got a good look at the Hawkeye series thus far, and I was very impressed. Hawkeye was not a character. He's not a character I love. Not one of my favorite Marvel characters. And when they announced they were doing a series, I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting, but this is not like I was really game for all the other ones we got. And they've been great. So now it's kind of increased my hype. And then we get this, and it's a Christmas show. And I'm like, oh yes. Okay, I'm on board with this. So it's set at Christmas in New York, and there's shenanigans, and we got Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. And she looks great.
Excited for her.
This looks surprisingly good.
I liked Hawkeye maybe a bit more than you, but because I really liked him in Age of Ultron with his family. Age of Ultron is like one of my favorite Marvel movies. It's like number 2.
Same.
Like that's a movie that always gets better with every new addition to the MCU, and I hope that Age of Ultron again. It's this show adds to Age of Ultron's greatness despite Josh Whedon. But yeah, I'm excited. This is a Christmas Marvel show, which is interesting. But I like the fact they're doing Christmas Marvel. Like, I don't know why I always think of Captain America Winter Soldier as Thanksgiving, even though it wasn't even set in Thanksgiving. It just gives me that vibe. I guess WandaVision's more like a Halloween thing. They did it all in the wrong months. Oh, hang on.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's my outside. But I really liked. I just think this looks like fun. It's it's not like I'm not like super hyped for it, like say Spider-Man.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm excited.
Yeah, I have like obviously Spider-Man has a lot of my hype, but this looks really good. I was very put in the Christmas spirit with this. And which is saying something when I saw this in like September. So it just looks really good. I think giving him more depth, I think what these shows have really done for me personally is like give more depth to these characters that got some play, and they obviously they didn't do a whole lot with Clint first off in the first Avengers, and they kind of went further with that and gave him a family, all this kind of stuff. And I like what they did with him overall, but I think kind of going back to him and going like, okay, what else do we not know about him? And setting up Kate Bishop as this new Hawkeye, I think is really interesting. So it looks really good. And I love that it's set at Christmas. We're going to be getting it over the Christmas holidays. Going to lead right into the Book of Boba Fett. So basically opposite of how we discussed it tonight. You're going to be getting Hawkeye first, and then we'll be getting the Book of Boba Fett like immediately after. December 29th.
These Marvel shows really have been given the depth to these characters, especially the ones like you didn't expect. Like WandaVision really made me love Wanda and Vision's relationship.
Right. November 24th. That's the thing. Is when this is premiering. You're getting 2 episodes, I think, off the top, which is interesting because usually they just start with 1. But
I think they're doing it because it's so close to Book of Boba, so they don't want to.
Maybe they have to finish up by then. They don't really want any overlap, which is weird, but whatever. More power to them. We're getting 2 episodes right off the bat. That's good, and very looking forward to it. But yeah, the whole just giving more depth and more character to these characters, I think is really something, and it's gonna be fun and quirky and all this kind of stuff. But also, bringing his family back, and his wife wasn't in the first trailer. Like she shows up later. I don't know why she's not in the picture. I thought they were like divorced at some point, maybe. I guess not.
That's what happens when you get blipped.
Right, exactly. So thing. But like Clint's got a lot of baggage, and after Endgame, I think this is a good place to kind of pick up with him and figure out what's going on. So very much looking forward to it. There's like 3 trailers out there right now. Go check them out. Just go to YouTube and find them. And yeah, not
they're
too
fun.
far
Good
away.
Christmas music. Good Christmas
Very
music.
good. Very good. All right. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about? I think I got a couple more minutes. So this actually come up just recently, a couple weeks ago, I think. This is something that has the internet all up in arms.
Oh boy.
And people have had a lot of opinions about this.
Oh boy.
And it's about the Super Mario's Brothers movie.
Oh yeah.
And specifically the cast of this thing. Okay, first of all, Super Mario Brothers movie is something that like they had the live action one back in the 80s. Like it was real weird. Haven't seen that. Really don't care to.
Should if it's an interesting trip, that's for sure.
But now they're doing an animated version of this. I'm like, okay, great, that's good. I think they're Nintendo characters, Super Mario Brothers. Those are characters that I think have resonated with audiences and people love them. And I think kind of giving them a full big screen treatment, I think is a great idea. But this cast is not necessarily. I'm not saying it's bad. I personally have high hopes for this, but it is a bit weird. So starting it off, we have playing Mario will be Chris Pratt. We have Anya Taylor-Joy playing Princess Peach, Charlie Day as Luigi, Jack Black as Bowser, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong. Cranky Kong's in this. What?
Oh, cool.
Kevin Michael Richardson as Kamek. I don't even know who Kamek is. I know Kevin Michael Richardson played Jabba the Hutt in the Clone Wars. That's all I know him from. And a bunch of other characters.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have Sebastian Maniscalco as Spike again.
I thought you were about to say Sebastian Stan. It's like, what?
But that's happening. This is happening. We've got Chris Pratt as Mario.
Is he gonna do an accent? I mean, Bob Hoskins seems like a more better live action Mario.
You think of Mario, think it's me, Mario, like all that. I can't picture I can't hear Chris Pratt saying that. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying it's really weird that.
Is this like gonna be like a weird meta story where it's like they act like it's me, Mario, and then when the cameras are off, it's like Mario actually sounds like a regular dude who's been putting on an accent for decades.
The only other scenario that I'm thinking of is that maybe it's like a scenario like Jumanji, where it's Chris Pratt's a normal dude, and he gets sucked into the video game, and he becomes like his avatar is Mario, and so he's like. Think of Star-Lord, but he's in the body of Mario, and he's running around in this crazy Nintendo world. Like that could work. But then you have like Charlie Day as a Luigi, like I'm not sure how that works. Like Anya Taylor-Joy, yeah, Princess Peach, that's fine. Jack Black as Bowser, I can see. Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, I'm just like, what?
I could kind of buy it. There was actually a Donkey Kong cartoon.
That's true.
I've seen like an episode on TV once and never saw it again. So Donkey Kong is spoken. I can see that a little bit. But yeah, this is a weird cast and a weird movie. Like
I mean it's better than another Emoji movie. Like
that's true. Isn't like Idris Elba playing Knuckles though in the Sonic movie, so
yeah, that's happening. I don't know how that works either. That's interesting casting. Like, I mean, love Idris Elba, but like Knuckles, what?
I mean, hey, I've seen actors in weirder stuff. Like I mentioned Sebastian Stan earlier. Sebastian Stan, my first interaction with Sebastian Stan was actually not Winter Soldier. It was a show on ABC called Once Upon a Time.
Oh my gosh!
And he was the Mad Hatter in that.
What? Wow, yeah, that's amazing.
The Mad Hatter. His name was Jefferson, and you can see him in season 1.
I didn't know he was
Once Upon a Time
show.
Yeah, he appears for like the first 2 seasons, and I don't think he ever shows up again because then he went to Winter Soldier fame. Yeah, so that's my first. And also Giancarlo Esposito is in that show.
What?
Yeah, he's in Once Upon a Time. He's the magic mirror. So he's just a floating head in a mirror.
Oh my god. Okay, now I have to watch this show, apparently. This has got some amazing talent.
Sam Witwer is actually in the show.
I think I have seen Sam.
I think Sam
Witwer's
he
in
plays Mr. Hyde.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a heck of a lot of sense.
So yeah, if you ever do a season 1 reviewing of Once Upon a Time for IPC, bring me on. I love that show.
Well, I figure, me and Zach will be doing this until we die. We'll eventually get to it eventually. But they're coming out with new stuff every week now. It's hard to keep up.
But yeah, so I guess that just proves my point. Weird actors playing weird characters, and Chris Pratt is Mario. I can't see it, but I don't know what type of movie this is going to be. Is this like a serious Into the Mushroom Kingdom, or are we doing Jumanji? What is this even about?
Yeah, that's going to be the clincher. Is like what kind of movie is this? Is this going to be like? Is it sincere to the Mario world and just like it's funny or whatever? Is it trying to make fun of the Mario world? Is it kind of like meta, as you're saying? I think anything could work. I hope they have a plan in mind, because I think a lot of these animated movies, a lot of it feels like stunt casting. They're just like, oh, let's get Chris Pratt to play Mario because that'll get people talking, which it did. All right. It worked, guys. Nintendo, you're brilliant because people are still talking about this. We're talking about this right now.
That's something I'm kind of tired about with a lot of animated movies. I mean, Disney gets away with it more for some reason, but it's like, these are animated movies. Get voice actors. You don't have to get actual actors. I mean, like, come on. Like, sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Like the classic Disney movies, they got voice actors. The guy who plays Jafar looks nothing like him.
Yeah, I mean, and like the only like straight up voice actor that I know of in here is Kevin Michael Richardson. Like, and and it's a shame when like there is a voice actor. I don't know his name, but there isn't a voice actor that does Mario's voice now in the games. He's going to make a cameo in this movie. He's not going to be Mario.
I don't know
like,
why. Weird.
Why? Why didn't you just get him to do the voice? Just be Mario. So I don't know where they're going with this.
Say what you will about Michael Bay's movies, but at least they got the voice actor for Optimus Prime in the movie. He wasn't great, and he didn't get good material, but at least it's the voice of Optimus Prime.
At least they try. They're like trying to like be sincere and like not just like, oh, it's Chris Pratt as Optimus Prime.
I will say though, I'm okay with Chris Evans as Buzz Lightyear.
You just reminded me throughout the entirety of today, making the news, whatever, I forgot all about the Lightyear trailer that came out.
I can talk about that. I actually am excited for that.
I'm very excited, but let's talk about it really quick while we got some time. Because Lightyear came out, we got the trailer, we got Chris Evans in the part, and it looks really good. Like,
it looks very unique for a Pixar film.
Exactly.
Got this
and so
sci-fi.
And it's very interesting. Something that came across, and I actually discussed it in our Peace Hangout group. But apparently there was some back and forth, and I misunderstood what this movie was supposed to be. What I heard originally was that the toy Buzz Lightyear is supposed to be based on a real person, quote unquote real, in the Toy Story universe, aka Buzz Aldrin in our universe, a real astronaut that lived and had adventures or whatever. That was what I heard. But apparently that has changed. So the real scenario here, and maybe there are people out there that were as dumb as I was that that's
what I thought too. So
yeah, so the real explanation here apparently is that in the Toy Story universe there is a character called Buzz Lightyear, and there is a movie called Buzz Lightyear or Lightyear. And the thing is, Buzz Lightyear in the Toy Story universe is the equivalent to Iron Man in our universe. There is a movie and a character, and you have like the Buzz Lightyear toy is like an action figure. Like you have an Iron Man toy.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Are these people? I'm not. I didn't read this conversation, so as I haven't looked it up because I thought it was supposed to be on the real dude too. So I could be wrong. Are these people? Again, out there if you're listening, I'm not accusing you. I'm just curious. Are you getting mixed up with the Buzz Lightyear cartoon in the early 2000s, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, which is the idea that Buzz Lightyear is an Iron Man-like character. He's like this kind of franchise and Berserk and yada yada yada. Or did they change the premise of the movie now? And they are kind of gonna, and this is sort of like they're doing this again, but now with Chris Evans. Yada yada yada.
I don't think anything's actually changed. I think they were just really bad at explaining it earlier. I think even Chris Evans was like tweeting stuff that was like contradictory to this.
Okay.
The best example that I can come up with in this Toy Story universe is like we see in Toy Story that like Woody's this doll, where he came from. In Toy Story 2, it's revealed that he is like from the 40s. He's in the Woody's Roundup show. It's like a show. And Woody would be a toy that you would buy if you watched that show.
Have you ever watched the Buzz Lightyear Star Command?
I've never seen it, but I've heard so much about
it. Because that's how the movie, which is the pilot, starts with the Toy Story characters getting the Buzz Lightyear Star Command, the movie, and it's like in two, and they put in the movie, and it's 2D. Newman from Steinfeld is evil in Berserk.
Oh my gosh.
it's really good, and they made a whole series of it. It's really good. I think, though, I've heard Pixar does not like it and does not consider it canon. So maybe this is them doing their canonical version of the premise of Buzz Lightyear is an action hero, but it's going to be a lot more serious.
Yeah, this seems to be like Buzz Lightyear Star Command on steroids and with a bigger budget. Like it's basically and essentially it's like this is the movie that Andy would have gone to the theater and watched and been like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And I'm gonna go get a. He was like when he gets Buzz Lightyear toy, he's like, "I saw the movie last year and now I get the toy." Like that's the whole premise of this.
I can't wait to see what real life Emperor Zurg looks like. And I saw some things that looked like Emperor Zurg's drones.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Because when I first heard about this, I'm like, "Oh, he's a real guy, so it's gotta be like all grounded and whatever else. It's gotta be like." But now they can kind of like it's supposed to be fictional still, so it could be all this fantastical stuff, and it could be more spacey, more sci-fi elements, like you see them on a different planet or whatever he's lifting off. And I'm wondering, like, I think this could genuinely be like a massive franchise. This could be like a new sci-fi franchise for Pixar because imagine, if you will, in the
Buzz
original
is
Toy
essentially
Story,
Star Wars, but just made up.
Buzz is like, oh, I've got the plans to this super weapon that Zurg, like he explains the plot of Star Wars. Like, I'm wondering if are they going to like lean into that because I mean it's all under the same roof. They can borrow from each other if they want, or are they going to do something different? And are we going to see Zurg and the super weapon, all this kind of stuff, and like turn into kind of this big action movie that's kind of similar to Star Wars but more grounded? Maybe.
I actually hope that. I hope they keep the parody of Star Wars more. Not necessarily like I want it to be all jokes and giggles per se, but what I love about the original Buzz Lightyear Star Command and the kind of Star Warsy elements of Buzz itself and Zurg in Toy Story is they know it's a ripoff of Star Wars. Like they're not even hiding the fact.
Right.
So I kind of hope that they can find the balance of, we still want the dramatic essence of it. But it's like make it a parody of Star Wars. Like Zurg should not be like Darth Vader. Like Zurg should be kind of, I don't know if you make Zurg funny or not, but like you play on the idea he's a Darth Vader ripoff, which he is. He's the Vader ripoff.
Yeah.
Down to he's Vader and Palpatine fused together.
Basically.
So I kind of hope you kind of keep it's Flash Gordon. Like he is like this is Flash Gordon. This is like another version of Flash Gordon without Jedi. So I kind of hope they keep the kind of parody that Buzz is, while also being sincere as well, because Chris Evans is like the most sincere actor ever.
Right. And I think the trailer looks great. Like it's kind of like it's very, like meant to be more grounded. You have a space shuttle, which kind of looks like his space shuttle from the original movie, his box that he comes in. Mm-hmm. And then you have the suit, which is very like they've managed to like translate that into like what becomes a toy and what generally is made to be a toy kind of turned into, okay, what would a actual astronaut or someone in an action movie wear that would look practical? It looks really good. And
I think Zurg's design.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But I think for a design,
beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous. I think for a design that was developed in the 90s, in the mid 90s, to bring that back in 2021 or 2022 actually, and have it seem fresh and new, I think is great. So I'm very much looking forward to the second teaser. And again, Chris Evans, it's like I'm gonna say one of the lines. And then I'm going to leave off the last bit of the line.
Oh, by the way,
to infinity.
I love the use of David Bowie Starman. Like, that was beautiful. I wish I could have seen this in theaters. Like, just the lighting. It's like, this is like, this Pixar movie, like, seems like next tier Pixar to me.
Pixar keeps upping themselves. Like, they keep, every movie, like, looks better than the last. Like,
I'm going to say something controversial. I haven't been interested in a lot of Pixar films lately. I mean, I haven't gone to the movies, and I've been kind of focusing on Marvel and Star Wars. Right. So, I didn't see whatever the last Pixar movie was. Or
last one I saw was Soul.
Yeah, I didn't see Soul either. I wish I did, but like this one, actually, like I feel like I want to go to the theaters and see it. Like, and I haven't felt that way about Pixar film in a long time, really. Maybe since I was a kid.
Well, they've always been tried to avoid direct sequels, even though there's 4 Toy Story films.
I think Toy Story 3 was the last one, big one I wanted to see, but
right. And I wasn't overly thrilled with Toy Story 4. It made me freaking cry. But they all made me do that. But like this whole thing, I think, is a really interesting concept that like they can kind of expand this out and go.
It also feels like it's for older kids too. Like I feel like sometimes Pixar's for younger.
I mean, it's
family,
made
but still.
for kids, but it is absolutely made for our generation, people that grew up with that.
Well, I'm talking about Buzz
that
Lightyear in particular. Like,
Right.
this seems like a more sci-fi kind of show in like the same vein as like a Marvel. And
Right.
if that's what they're trying to go for, like Marvel, this is the Marvel equivalent of Iron Man.
I guess in keeping up with the Iron Man references, like this would be like, what the Avengers is in our universe is the Buzz Lightyear. The Lightyear movie is like the biggest thing. It's probably like the like top 3 grossing movie of all time in wherever they live.
I hope they can make a franchise out of this because I think it'd be interesting to have. Like, I mean, I love the Buzz Lightyear Star Command TV cartoon back in the day, and that was more comedy. So it's like they can kind of make a more operatic version of it while still keeping it, charming. I would love to see like what a sequel would look like, and like build like a little Buzz Lightyear universe out of it.
It's very. I think there's a lot to go there, and I think expanding that universe out into like what's Zurg all about, what is the Galactic Alliance, what is all this stuff happening in the background, and actually taking kind of retrofitting and reverse engineering all of that lore into like, okay, we're taking this seriously now. What is it going to be?
Right.
I'm so looking forward to this. I'm trying to look up actually when this is coming out so that I can say, because like it's Lightyear, it's 2022. It's going to come out June 17th. So
birthday months. Nice.
So not that far away, really. Not that far away.
And my birthday month, so that's a good sign for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
There's a poster out and everything like that. It looks really. I like how they instead of on the poster, instead of like being the big red like button.
Oh, by the way, how do you feel about it not being Tim Allen's voice? How do you feel about Chris Evans? I mean, I'm happy. I mean, I know Tim Allen's got a little controversial lately, so I'm okay with Chris Evans. But
first of all, I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense for like you want again. Bit of stunt casting here. Chris Evans, huge name.
This time it works for me.
I think he's a great actor. I think he's going to bring a fresh thing. I think it makes sense that like in universe that like, oh, Chris Evans is the guy that plays like, or whoever Chris Evans is supposed to be in the movie. He plays Buzz Lightyear in real life in the movie. But when they make the toy, they bring in Tim Allen to do the voice.
I think actually Chris Evans kind of embodies the character of what I think Buzz Lightyear is supposed to be. Like he's kind of a Captain America type.
I think so too. I think it'll work right. And look, I don't want to get political here, but when you have the things that Tim Allen has said in public recently, you really can't blame Disney for like going, oh, let's just get a new actor. Let's just move on.
Although
Tim Allen,
still bringing James Woods for Hades, so.
I mean, they brought him back. I mean, Tim Allen kind of flying off the handle and saying some crazy stuff isn't anything new, and they recently brought him back for Toy Story 4. So I think them maybe bringing him back is not out of the possibility if they did a Toy Story 5. But I think for this new franchise, they want the flexibility of like, okay, let's get someone that's going to really bring some star power to this, and also bringing it into the future, and
it works. This is stunt casting that works for me.
It does. Sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of times it does. And you can't fault them for doing stuff like for doing stunt casting when we go, oh my God, look who's in this movie. Look who's in this animated movie. It's an emoji movie. It's going to be crap. It's literally going to have the poop emoji in it, but it's got The Rock in it. Oh my gosh, I love The Rock, and I'm going to watch this. Like, that stuff works. As long as they've been
bringing Dwayne Knight, who's Newman from Seinfeld, to voice Zurg again, I will be happy because his Zurg is awesome.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. But who would they get as Zurg? Like, who would? Like, realistically.
Well, if you're going to do stunt casting, you want to know who I pick as Zurg for stunt casting?
Okay.
Adam Driver.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing because you've got the Darth Vader connection.
Well, and then you can like go over the top Kylo Ren, like if like this is Supreme Leader Kylo. That
Oh,
would be one.
I never envisioned screaming Zurg as Adam Driver, but
I think Adam Driver could be funny. Maybe also, and again, stunt casting Robert Downey Jr. just for the heck Marvel connection.
I like that too.
And
like that
and
too.
Zurg is an Iron Man, I guess. I don't know what Zurg is. I'd love to get actually lore on Zurg. So
Yeah. There's also another famous villainous actor we just mentioned, Giancarlo Esposito.
Ooh, yes, I would love it. Actually, now that would be a good choice.
Okay, I think we just figured. Disney, call us. All right, we
Yes.
just figured this out for you. All right, if you didn't have a Zurg actor in mind, we just figured.
Because you got to think of the voice modulation too. But
right.
They're gonna
And
do
it's
the
like,
Darth Vader
how are they
thing.
going to do that design? He's really weird. He's got the face mask. And is he going to be his father? Are they going to do that?
Are they gonna? I always that's like because I know that was like a joke gag, so it's like, but it's like, are they gonna like decide to do that anyway?
Because I mean, it's part of the lore, seemingly. So okay, there's so many possibilities.
I know.
This is okay. I'm somehow more excited for this movie now after having this discussion.
I've been
That's
excited for a
amazing.
while, but yeah,
That's amazing. Okay,
Mhm.
all right. So, Giancarlo Esposito is Zurg. It's settled, and he will be Buzz's father. That's all she wrote there.
If it's Adam Driver, then he should be his brother.
That would be amazing.
Mhm.
Chris Evans and Adam Driver. Wow, did not expect that, but yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Okay, one more piece of animated casting news we need to talk about. It goes back to our original discussion about Chris Pratt being cast in everything.
I know.
Weird roles. Okay, so apparently,
Mhm.
as of this week,
Mhm.
Chris Pratt has also been
Mhm.
cast
Wow.
as the voice of Garfield in a new animated picture.
This one I'm more okay with.
I think this actually makes a ton of sense. I think this will actually be good.
I mean, Chris Pratt kind of has a bit of a Garfield voice. I mean, maybe not like a pure Garfield voice, but sort of like, I mean, I don't know what the Garfield voice is, but like kind of that lazy cat kind of voice. Like, I hate Mondays.
I'm trying to think of who has played him in the past, because I know there was
Bill Murray, I think.
Oh, you're right. He was in the
Live action Garfield movies.
live action. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Garfield the movie, 2004. Bill Murray. Okay. All right. So we're who knew? I didn't know Bill Murray could. I didn't know Chris Pratt could take over for Bill Murray, but now here we are. So I think it'd be a different vibe, but it'd still be Garfield. I think this could really, really work.
This is stunt casting I don't mind. This is the kind of stunt casting that doesn't bother me. Depends on
I
the
agree.
character.
I agree. I think this could work a lot, and yeah, who knows? So yeah, Lightyear, Garfield, Mario Brothers.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's shaping up.
I'm looking forward to one of these.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for tonight. I think we
Okay.
discussed a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And there's a whole lot more to discuss, but I think we just about covered all the big stuff. Obviously, in a week from now, there will be so much other stuff. Disney Plus Day is going to be dropping a bomb and a half on us of
Cross
other
those
stuff.
fingers, fans. Cross those fingers.
Cross your fingers and toes.
But keep your expectations in line. Don't
we
get
didn't
mad.
we didn't even talk about the rumors about like what's going to be happening on Disney Plus Day. Like that's a whole other bag that we don't even have time for. But there's stuff probably going to be happening then.
I hope so.
So that'll be a whole other story. But if there is anything to be talking about, we will be back in 2 weeks' time. We do this show bi-weekly here on Fandom Empire on YouTube and also on Facebook and in various places too. So be on the lookout for that. We're doing some testing, doing some different things, and just getting the show out to as many places as possible. So you can watch it here on YouTube, and of course, immediately after it airs, you can just scrub right through it back and watch it again if you like, or you can go to our Podbean account on your various podcatchers and find it and listen to the audio version. We're a bit behind on that feed, I will admit. It's been a bit. It's been a past couple weeks, but yes, normally speaking, those are up in a timely fashion. I just hasn't been the case recently, but you can find us at ipcpodcast.podbean. Green as in green bean, as Zach says, because I always thought it was Podbean for so long, and it's not. It's Podbean for some reason. Podbean.com is our main host site where you can find all of our episodes. You can follow us at IPC Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow Zach Arnold, who is not here tonight, but he is around and he will be back very, very soon. At Zach the Voice on all the social medias. You can follow me personally at Ben Hart with no E on social medias. You can follow both me and Mr. Joel Davis here at Culture Slate because we're both working a lot over there doing
articles.
Read my stuff. Joel does a whole lot of stuff. And we're just got our hands in all kinds of stuff. So yeah, definitely go check that out. And then follow me personally at the Star Wars Underworld. And we do a show every single week. And speaking of which, I was gonna tease this off the top of next Thursday. We will be not doing a show. We'll be doing a show Friday.
Smart move.
In the IPC off week, we'll be moving a show back a little bit, doing it on Friday next week. And that will be really a lot of fun. We're going to have special guests. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some good old-fashioned breakdowns because they're going to reveal something. We don't know what. Probably a 10 things. And,
I hope so.
We're going to get all into it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely check that out. Yeah, go watch the Disney Plus Day festivities and then come join us at 9 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Eastern.
I'm excited.
On YouTube. So that's good.
I'll probably be there in the chat room if you want.
Absolutely, you just go search up a Star Wars Underworld and subscribe because we're not actually that far from like 1,000 subscribers over there, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
You can of course check us out at patreon.com/IPC Podcast. That's where you support the show, get all those awesome pluses that I talked about. You can follow us and check out our swag at tpublic.com/user/IPC Podcast. Definitely go check that out. You get barbecue watch stuff, you get IPC stuff, all kinds of stuff, really good stuff. Big shout out to our friends at Fandom Empire here. They support us. They keep the show going. We are broadcasting on Fandom Empire every other week. We could not do the show without them. And go check out because they're doing a lot of other stuff. They just launched a whole new Star Wars channel, apparently. I haven't been keeping up to date, but apparently there's Star Wars Fandom, I think it's called. Definitely go check that out. Subscribe to all their channels and check out all their stuff because they cover just like we cover a little tiny section of like fandom. They cover everything. Like it's crazy. So definitely go check that out. iTunes, please subscribe and leave a nice review, preferably 5 stars to help because there is some 1-star ones. All right, let's just be honest, there is some 1-star ones. We don't appreciate those. So if you want to help us actually get more listeners, definitely.
But you do accept constructive criticisms, I hope.
Yeah, constructive. Just like DM us if you have constructive criticisms. Don't leave a 1-star review. Jeez, guys. But that's about all for the plugs. Joel, thank you so much, my friend.
You're welcome.
For coming on and making this happen. This was an absolute pleasure. If you have stuff to plug, please plug it right here, right now. Tell people what you've been up to, what you're working on.
Well, I'm writing for Culture Slate. You can just go to cultureslate.com, look at my writing stuff, Joel Davis. If you want to follow me, not that there's much to follow, you can follow me on Twitter at I always forget my own Twitter handle. So that sucks for me. At JID 2021, that's capital J, lowercase d, and lowercase I. You can follow me on Facebook, although I don't do much there. Just Joel Davis. You can see a big picture of my mug. I'm holding my kitty cat, named Dashi. So that's that. And that's really it. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, also Joel Davis. I don't post a lot there. Got the Imperial symbol on it. But if you want to follow me, you can look at some of my older videos. I do a lot of Let's Plays of Kingdom Hearts, for any Kingdom Hearts fans in the audience. And that's about it. So I don't have much to plug. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for inviting me. I would love to do more. Hope to do more.
Dude, this was great. It's sad that it took me this long to invite you on because this was such a blast. And thank you so much for agreeing to come on such short notice. I will reiterate, I asked you to be on this show this morning.
I know.
This morning.
And I was asleep when he asked.
That's ridiculous. That's absurd that I waited this long to do this. And we had such a great episode that was planned literally on the spot almost. So wow.
See? Chaos doesn't always end.
See, again, it proves that like behind the scenes chaos and drama, it really doesn't make any difference in the end of the day. You still produce some good content, and we did it here tonight. It's great. Woo-hoo. So yes, thank you so much, Joel, for coming on. Definitely go check out his podcast. Go over Culture Slate. We got a lot of stuff. Okay, full disclosure here. If you see memes on either at Star Wars Culture or at Marvel Culture, that's Joel. And sometimes me. But a lot of it is Joel doing that. And a lot of great memes. So go follow both of those accounts because there's a lot of stuff going on. Share them everywhere. Because we need as much support as possible. But I'm gonna stop rambling. This has been a great show. Thank you guys so much for coming on and for watching, listening, however you do. And this has been a blast. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time, same place, Fandom Empire, around the same time. Sometimes we start a little late. I'm sorry, but it just happens. But this has been great. Special thanks to our friend and our great producer, Sean, for staying up late. And he's probably going like, just shut up so I can go to bed. So I'm going to shut up now. And yes, so this has been episode number 335 of the IPC podcast. Hope you guys will join us one more time. But before we leave you, we just want to leave you with this closing thought. Revenge is a confession of pain. We hope you will not take revenge. But have a little compassion, guys. There's not enough of that in the world today. But see, I botched it. Good night, everybody. It's been great. Thanks, guys. You guys are the best. See you later.
Bye-bye, folks.
This podcast is sponsored in part by Benjamin Hart.
That's me.
And yours truly, Zach Arnold.
And by participation from listeners like you. So let's tune in to another episode of
IPC.
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 IPC. IPC. IPC.
IPC.
IPC.
IPC. The Intergalactic Peace Coalition Podcast.
All the galaxies.
All for you.